Welcome back to another episode of Mind Over Masculinity, where we break the old school mold, redefine what strength means, and dig deep into what it really takes to be a man in today's world. I'm your host Avik, and today we are talking about one of the most powerful, primal, and honestly overlooked aspects of mental health. Doing hard things, not solo, but as a pack. So, dear listeners, you see that there's something ancient in us, something primal, the need to hurt others, or rather, I would say, hunt others, to grind together, to suffer and succeed alongside our brothers. But in today's hyper individualized world, we have lost that age, and with it, sometimes our mental health as well. To crack this open, I'm connecting down with someone who lives and breathes this idea, Tyler Smith. So welcome to the show, Tyler.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate having me be a guest on your show, Alec.
Lovely, lovely. So Tyler, like before we start, I'll quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners. Dear listeners, Tyler isn't just a physical therapist for the elite military teams. He's an Ironman, the chief challenge officer at Triumphant Challenge, and a man who's been to the mountaintop of peak performance, only to realize the view wasn't enough. So Tyler turned his burnout into a bold movement where fitness meets legacy and challenges becomes catalyst for the mental clarity, purpose, and the brotherhood. So, dear listeners, I'll not take much of your time. We'll quickly jump in on Mind Over Masculinity with one and only Tyler Smith. So, welcome to the show, Tyler.
Thank you so much. That was a great introduction and does encapsulate my story and kind of the arc of my life really well
Yeah,
to this point.
exactly, exactly. Lovely. So Tyler, like, I mean, you have done the hard things. I mean, lifted insane weight, then crossed Ironman finish lines, but you have said those wins felt empty. So, what do you think, I mean, was missing from those solo fiats?
Yeah, I think I had been kind of chasing the wrong, up the wrong mountain for quite a while in my life, and I'd done a lot of my physical activities as almost like a bucket list, right? I had that mentality of I'll just write all these things down, the 5 minute mile, the 1,000 pound club and weightlifting, an Ironman, a marathon, all these kind of things that I eventually began to
Oh,
reflect on that became a little bit hollow when I kind of got to the goal. I hit like you said, the Ironman finish line, and
mm,
there was a lot of people around me, and that's amazing. But it did feel, in a sense, like I had alienated a lot of my friends and relationships up to that point because of how much training I had to do to get to that, finish line. So I kind of got to step back at a certain point. This is in 2023, 2024, and kind of realized had I kept going down this path kind of on this solo endeavor of pursuing all these individualistic goals that it might have been a regret later on down the line. And I think doing hard things with other people, building community, getting people to, get motivated to get off the couch and see them grow, not just your own self and your own physical quest, but to see
mm,
other people do it with you, I think is the more impactful thing that I can have on the world. So that was
mm,
kind of the origin story of Triumph the Challenge. And now there's,
mhm,
7 fitness events and, charities that we give back to throughout the year where it's combining that physicality. So it's like a small group of people that we meet up, we do something hard together. There's a charitable aspect of it, and it's kind of all based in this historical tribute
mm,
to the past of somebody that had to die to get you the day of rest for that holiday. So that's kind of the blend of
mhm,
physicality, history, and community that I'm trying to build with Triumph.
mhm. Lovely. So, like, yeah, I mean, so was there a specific moment that made you realize it wasn't just about the challenge, but it's who you are and doing it with?
Yeah, I think, I got a lot of fuel for a lot of these endeavors by having friends tell me that, they're really inspired by, I had been posting some of my progress
Mm,
during these challenges, whether it was a lifting or a running goal. But I think what also fuels me in a different sense is seeing other people progress and push their own comfort zones and kind of strive together towards something. And I think, like we had mentioned, that is really deeply kind of in our species, where we have for hundreds of thousands of years, longer than we've been farmers and, you know, agriculturalists, hunters and that kind of thing, where you had to bind, certain groups of people and tribes of people together to go pursue the superordinate goal of taking down the woolly mammoth and all those kind of things. And it was a very bonding kind of thing to do as a society. So I think that trying to reinstill kind of that primal necessity of there's this big mountain that we want to get to, and how are we going to get there as a pack, I think is really important for me to see, and to kind of show that it is possible. Because I think with a group that we are able to see a little bit farther. We might not go as fast. That's always the classic saying. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So I think having the group mindset now with my physical goals is going to allow me eventually to get the momentum that I want to go farther in my life than had I just been pursuing the physicality as an individualistic goal.
Okay. And yes, a lot of us chase these external milestones, the six pack, the race medal, the applause.
Yeah.
But without the community, it's like throwing a punch in the dark room. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're saying something. Yes, please.
Oh, no, go for it. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Okay. So, and also like you talk a lot about training for the purpose, not just for the performance. So, what does that look like in the practice? I mean, especially when training with others.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I think that can be another kind of mindset you get wrapped into, because there's kind of maybe stages to physical training. First, you might be training even for purely vanity's sake. You want to get a six pack. The summer's coming up. You just broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend and you want to get the revenge body and kind of show them that, you're a certain type of
Right.
individual. So it could be more vanity. And then you can kind of eventually get to the, performance stage where you just want to do really well in all these races and kind of beat your own past self, which
Mm,
I think is a lot healthier than maybe the previous
mm,
stage. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with any of these stages. They're just ways to maybe achieve a level of motivation that you need to pursue the goal. So I would say like the second stage is more training for performance. You have a really
mm,
good competition within yourself or with some external
mm,
person to train every day to go pursue that and do a
mm,
triathlon and get the medals like you were just stating. But I think the pinnacle maybe of training is to zoom out and kind of have that bird's eye view of how can my suffering, my training, all these things benefit the other.
mm,
How can I bring through my own physical body and my own fitness a benefit to somebody else? And so you see things like AIDS walks and cancer walks and all these kind of, philanthropy and fitness endeavors, which I think are awesome, where there's
yeah.
a large component of, giving back to, research for a disease that's, ravaging humanity or something. So I think that's really important. Um, but to get people on that path, I think there also has to be a little bit of that, the purpose behind it, the history of it, the physical impact that you're seeing in the community, kind of on a more local level,
Mm,
because it can get kind of, so global in the sense that, it's hard to see what you're walking a 5K is going to do to really stop cancer, in its tracks. And that kind of becomes abstracted in a certain sense when it's such a large goal that we're tackling. Not to say that those are bad, but it's hard to
mm,
see your impact. And so I think the benefit of Triumphant is that I not only do, you know, uh, GiveDirectly.org is a main,
mm,
philanthropic wing of Triumphant, but also there's seven, relatively smaller charities as well. So those are again tied back to what that challenge was. So for Martin Luther King, he was the co-president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference when he was active in the 1960s for voting rights and everything. So that's one of the charities I give back to. There's also the Cesar Chavez tribute where I do farm workers justice. So every challenge has a smaller,
mm,
organization tied in with it as well, which aren't
mm,
maybe as glamorous as, cancer research or curing AIDS or those kind of things, but they're also a big need in the community as well. And maybe your dollar can go farther had you, gone and done something for them as well. So I think that it's good to have a different perspective maybe on how training for a purpose, you can kind of see that more visibly if you do kind of a smaller scale organization than just these larger societal problems as well.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Amazing. So, like, and there's this idea that men bond best side by side, not face to face. So, like on a hike in the gym or grinding through something difficult. So, why do you think hard physical effort creates deeper emotional connection for men?
Oh, that's an amazing question. Yes, and I have definitely heard of that as well, where women can, have coffee together, look face to face,
Mm.
be sitting directly in front of each other, and
Yeah.
kind of have a discussion. Men often need a third thing. It can be, building furniture together, working on your car together, going on a hike, doing something physical in the world. I don't know fully the psychology
Mm.
behind the differences there. Maybe that's something to do with the testosterone level of men, and you feel like you're being
Mm.
challenged if you're, eye contact directly in front of somebody. So that as a way to disperse that masculine energy, you need to be side by side and kind of be able to look away. Or maybe men are just, I don't know, more likely to be on the autism spectrum, and then that's harder for us to make eye contact. I don't know exactly what it is, but that is definitely a thing that I think is, pretty widespread. And I
Mm.
think maybe it also has to go back to, that need to be chasing something. As a man, you're kind of always in the pursuit of some external goal when you're usually hanging out with somebody, whether it's on a sports team, right? We're all bonding over this goal of beating the other team in basketball or hockey or something. And so there's always this third activity that you can kind of
Mm.
you know, mesh together to go pursue. But I've found, yeah, I've had success with starting like track Tuesdays, and so clubs where I work on base to get guys to come out and again, a really hard thing together, like a hard speed
Mm.
workout where you're doing 400s or 800-meter repeats on the track and trying to keep
Mm.
up a certain pace, and it kind of fosters a little bit of a healthy competition. And again, like you said, you're not looking at necessarily somebody, directly, but they're off to your side, or you can hear them running beside you, you can
Mm.
hear them breathing hard, and they kind of all those, you know, um, again, that primal kind of instinct to keep going and work harder when you hear your buddies struggling next to you, to kind of keep going down the track and really push yourself. So I feel like there is a big push to go pursue something together, but having that kind of bonding, but a slight distance as well,
Mm.
so there's not that maybe awkward interaction. I don't know if that's exactly what it would be, but I always, for that reason, like to go on hikes or on like a first date or something. I think the worst thing you can do on a first date is, dinner and a movie, because then you're not talking during the dinner, and then during the movie, and then during the dinner, you're eye contact face to face. So I've always
Mm.
found more benefit from going on a hike or going on a walk for a first date, because then there's this area that I can kind of be scanning the horizon, and you're still having this, potentially intimate conversation, but there is more wandering that the mind can do, and I tend to think better when I am in motion as well. So I think that's really important as well to foster, better dialogue and conversation when you kind of have, a beautiful vista to look at as well.
Mm. Yeah, good. Hmm. And I mean, it's really wild the moment you are exhausted, covered in sweat, and just done. That's often when the walls drop, like suffering lowers the ego.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like you walk with high performers in the military, like it's a group where community is essential. So what have you learned about the mental health and the performance from that culture of small back suffering?
Yeah, I think, yeah, so I work as a physical therapist for the Human Performance Optimization Team for the Air National Guard in Washington. And so you do get to see these kind of special warfare operators
Mm.
during their drills and their training, and how
Yeah.
much of that kind of culture is built into them. So these guys are, a little bit older. These guys aren't during, in their
Mm.
basic training. These guys have been in their military career for maybe 5, 10 years. So they're kind of past that early stage, but that, basic training is designed to kind of suck in the sense that that really does bond you because you're all going through this really trial of fire basically the entire time. But
Mm.
with the guys that I work with today, they're all cut from a certain cloth because they are, pursuing a longer standing military career. And that's the purpose of my job, is trying to keep them healthy and all that kind of stuff so they can have the 20, 30, 40-year career that they want now. So the military is kind of being more forward looking with having more support staff and rehab
Mm.
teams and strength coaches for these guys. And it's very crucial because the way these guys have to operate, you have to train at a certain level and intensity, like you were
Mm.
just saying, to kind of achieve the results that you want. So it is very crucial to balance both of those things, that they have a very strong drive to achieve, to train hard, but that the recovery is just as strong with a lot of these guys because you have to balance, the sleep with the training, with the nutrition, with the mindfulness and stress management, or else there's no possible way that they can hit a target at, 500 yards if they're in this constantly fight or flight state. You need to be able to relax. Parasympathetic system needs to kick on, deep breaths, and kind of control that so that you can do these kind of higher charging operations
Mm.
and that kind of stuff. So what I've learned is that a lot of these guys, and what's got me into it actually as of again
Mm.
2 years ago, is doing jujitsu. And so I kind of
Mm.
noticed that a lot of the guys here were kind of into wrestling, jujitsu, rolling, martial arts, combat sports, and they do get obviously some combatives training in the military. But I think you see a high achiever have to kind of be able to turn it off in that sense where, in my mind, that's something that we often neglect, is the play aspect of physicality. And so having, a non-threatening environment like a jujitsu gym or, a wrestling team or something like that, where you can kind of simulate combat, but it is more of like a dance and you're flowing. And this is why so many cultures have some type of martial art, whether it's, Muay Thai or Mud Indian wrestling, all these kind of cultures, ancient Greeks and their kind of Greco-Roman wrestling, all these cultures and the warrior mindset do often have a simulated war zone like jujitsu, like those kind of martial arts. So that is one thing that I noticed when I did get here, because I wrestled in high school, but I did not do any jujitsu.
Mm.
But there was a large percentage of the guys that are TAC-Ps, so Tactical Air Control Party
Mm.
members, that are also doing jujitsu 2, 3 days a week, and that has a tremendous effect on their mental state and their ability to relax from some of these harder missions and deployments when they can come
Mm.
home and have consistent training partners and kind of be able to roll on the mats and have fun. And there's a hardwire instinct to do that, I think, as a species as well, is not just be hard charging all the time, but be able to wind down and simulate maybe a fight, but in a more playful manner. So that's an interesting pattern that I've noticed specifically at the job that I work now.
Mm. Got it. So, okay. So, how can everyday guys not in the military replicate the same brotherhood? I mean, if you can share.
Yeah, I think there is the benefit, obviously, of the internet
Mm.
and some of these online communities is that you can foster interests in all kinds of areas of the world. So, if you don't necessarily have people in your direct line of sight in your village and city where you are, there's definitely an online community. And if you follow enough, David Goggins and, Jocko Willnick and all those kind of
Mm.
personality, there's another podcaster who coined the phrase toughness influencer. And so I think that's one way to kind of put it, right?
Mm.
Some of these mindsets where you can get that a little bit from an online community. I think the easiest thing, though, if you can literally get anybody around you, is to try to meet up with somebody for a weekly, let's say 5K run, or, it doesn't, whatever distance you want it to be. But I think the accountability is one of the biggest life hacks, right? Because most of success, 80%, whatever the quote is, right,
Mm.
comes from showing up. So just being there, just being one of the people that's reliable and that shows up. And so, what's one of the best ways to show up
Mm.
consistently is not necessarily motivation, not
Mm.
necessarily discipline, in my opinion, but having accountability, having an external person there that's relying on you, not relying on you necessarily with their life or anything, but relying on your presence as
Mm.
a commitment that you made to be at the gym at, 7 a.m. or go for a run at whatever, 5 p.m. after work or something. So if you can build that in a small way, I think that's a huge win. But there's definitely a lot of online communities as well where you can get accountability. Triumph Challenge is again one of those, and it's a kind of virtual community, but I've kind of wanted to branch more into, the physicality of just, specifically going to a
Mm.
park or something and doing something together. So I think there's benefit from both. But finding
Mm.
even just one person that can join you for doing something that you find challenging can make you
Mm.
consistent enough to kind of stack that compounding effect
Yeah,
over time.
exactly. Exactly true. So, okay. And some guys might think that group training is weak. Like, you have got to be tough enough to go it alone. So, how do you challenge that belief? I mean, that real strength is silent, solo, and stoic. So, yeah, if you can share.
Yeah, I think that is kind of been a prevailing meme or idea in culture for a long time that there's supposed to be this alpha wolf mentality and lone wolf and go out and do hard things by yourself and that can be great. I just I don't think that's really sustainable. I mean, I think the
Mm.
best way to start at least is definitely to have a group in the social aspect of training. I think men are more wired to want to go down that stoic path. More
Mm.
women maybe are more into group fitness training, but there is a certain percentage of guys that are kind of still beholden to that individualistic mantra
Mm.
just because it seems in a way more manly that I didn't need anybody's help. It's this kind of Ralph Waldo Emerson, self-reliance, kind of again, cultural meme that's been passed down for 100 years or so. But
Mhm.
the people that I think I see achieve the most, I mean, they're on teams. They're people that
Mm.
the marathon runners and all these people, they're getting up and they're meeting with their, three or four other Olympic caliber runners and they're going and working
Mhm.
out together. So I don't think the Kipchogis and the really world conquerors and world beaters would describe their training as largely independent of a larger community or group or team or I mean I think that we really do go farther with the team and I just think that mindset that you have to be so disciplined to do it yourself is really counterproductive because like I
Mhm.
said, I think accountability actually supersedes discipline when it comes to staying on something for long enough to get the result. Often people can get to maybe that individualistic and, individual workout place once they like the activity enough. Like some people really don't like running at the beginning. So
Mhm.
it really benefits to have a running club or running group. And there's so many of these popping up in
Mhm.
cities. And then once you start to like running enough because you've been to the group and the social aspect of it, then yeah, you obviously you can go do some runs yourself. You don't always need to run with an accountability buddy because you're going to eventually
Mhm.
learn to love it enough. But early on with a new person training for the first time or going to the gym or trying to pursue any physical goal, even really individualistic goals like rock climbing or something, I think going to a rock gym, learning from other people makes your performance so much higher because you now hacking the system where you have people telling you things that maybe they would have done to speed up the process. So I
Mhm.
think especially being, early on in a physical challenge, having other people around you to either tell you, where's that you can accelerate your learning or just making you accountable to be there long enough to then like it, to then balance
Mhm.
in some of that, individual training sessions as well. But just to be of the mindset that you have to do it all because it's the more masculine way, I don't think makes much sense because you're not going to necessarily go as far as you could had you done it the other way.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing, amazing. So what advice would you give to a guy who is listening right now who feels stuck, maybe even depressed, and thinks that I'm not ready to join a group like that? So, what do you say?
Yeah, if you have social anxiety or you're really ashamed about how out of shape you are or something like that, and you're maybe not ready for a group setting, because you're embarrassed about your body. You don't want to work out in front of other people. I understand that as a limiting belief or something that can prevent you from, engaging with the world. I think finding whatever I call it the MVP, so the minimal viable program or anything like that, minimal viable product in business, if you wanted to describe it that way, that you can, consistently stick to. And I always think it should be so simple that it's something that you can, really commit to doing every day. So I'm talking 5 minutes or less is the way to get the ball rolling in this sense. And I've had a couple shoulder surgeries from sports and ice hockey, and so I have to do about 5 minutes of shoulder stability training in the mornings, some yoga positions, and rotator cuff strengthening with bands and such. And so I'm very consistent with that because the rest of my day I don't have any shoulder pain if I do those. And then I also do a 5 minute, high intensity sprint thing, which I'm doing every day. It's a sprint interval training. I've been doing it for
Yeah.
the last about 150 days. So I think just finding the 5 minute, no more than 5 minute strength or exercise program or flexibility or stability program that you can start down the path of seeing yourself as, a physical being that, can
Mm,
take ownership of your physical form and see the progress there can make a big difference. So if you're too afraid to kind of go out into the world and be physical with other people, I think starting with the smallest,
mm,
program that you can potentially do, if it's 5 minutes or less, can kind of build some confidence that maybe you are consistent enough to then go push it to the next level where now you go into a 10, 15 minute, yoga workout in the park with your friend and start with one or two other friends and then, go to a group class at, a box gym later once you have even more confidence. But just making it small, making it something you can check off daily in 5 minutes kind of builds that early win to go down the line and have more success, in my opinion.
mm, exactly. Amazing, amazing. So, I mean, Tyler, I mean, this was really a fire. I mean, from Ironman races into inner purpose,
Yeah.
from burnouts to brotherhood. Thank you so much for bringing this raw truth. And for all the men who is listening, I mean, here's the bottom line. I mean, you were never meant to do life alone. So find your back, push your limits, suffer a little, laugh a lot,
Hmm.
and build a legacy that's about more than just you. So, um, if you have tried of chasing and never arriving, like Tyler said, it's time to train for purpose, not just the performance. So, hit follow, drop a review, and tag a brother who needs to hear this. And also remember that real strength isn't about how much you can lift, it's all about how deep you can go with the others. So, this is your host Avik signing off from Mind Over Masculinity. Till then, stay happy, stay healthy, stay strong. Thank you so much.